Games Workshop and Warhammer are at it again. They have introduced a brand new character with they, them, their pronouns as part of their Warhammer Age of Sigmar line. This one is part of the Stormcast Eternals faction. It shows that Games Workshop and Warhammer will continue to push the woke agenda despite the massive public backlash across all pieces of media against the ideology and movement. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. And this came to me via my good friend John Della Rose, who is actually creating an alternative to Warhammer 40K because of things just like this. Obviously, he has his Kickstarter here, The Hidden Emperor, an Ayla Rin sci-fi graphic novel, has raised almost $35,000. I am a backer. I think this is a sequel to, I think, what is his best graphic novel. Really looking forward to what he is creating here, and it is definitely an alternative to Warhammer. So if you're interested in checking this out, I will have the link in the description below. But let's get back to this story here. As I said, they introduced a new Stormcast Eternals character for its Warhammer Age of Sigmar miniatures, and this character uses they, them, their pronouns. This is kind of what the character looks like right there. His name is Iridan the Witness, and this is how they introduced him as part of their new Stormcast Eternals, or not new Stormcast Eternals faction, but it's part of this new Stormcast Eternals kit that you can purchase. The preview describes the character thus: Iridan the Witness strikes a morbid figure from atop their Morgriff Ariax, wielding the axe of the final threshold. Before reforging, Iridan was an Azurite scholar whose memory became eidetic when they were transformed into a Stormcast Eternal. Their ability to recall countless years of military strategy proved a vital asset to Sigmar, but they were forever tormented by intense recollections of horrendous battles. So you can see clearly using their multiple times, using they to describe this character, and this is clearly done on purpose, and it would continue because they added this. After a pilgrimage to a shrine of Morda, Iridan was granted knowledge they have since only shared with Sigmar and Ionis Cryptform. With this insight, they became the first to grant a comrade suffering from the curse of reforging a true death. Iridan is now deployed to any battle where Stormcast Eternals are in danger of losing themselves completely, never once forgetting the face of one they have put to rest. So clearly using they, them, their pronouns to describe this character, clearly embracing transgender ideology, clearly trying to normalize that here in the real world, getting players to accept this. This is absolutely evil stuff here. Transgender ideology is a rejection of God. It is a rejection of natural law. We are only created male and female. There is no possibility of transitioning between male and female or female to male. It just does not exist. It is an attack against creation. And that's exactly what these people are doing. They're trying to attack creation. And it's sick. And just to be clear, they have described other characters that are part of the Stormcast Eternals with making it clear that they're males, right? This one is Tornis the Redeemed right here. They described him back in June. In the post, they said the kit can also be used to represent Tornis the Redeemed, a legendary knight Azeros with a long history that began in the early days of the Age of Sigmar. Originally a proud and indomitable warrior from Giran, he was captured by the servants of the Plague God, who committed him to the pit of filth. They trapped him in this disease-ridden oubliette for 77 days and only released him after he agreed to accept Nurgle into his heart. While leading the Maggotkin of Nurgle on a campaign of desecration against his former allies and taking the name Torglug the Despised, he was poised to stand triumphant over a combined Sylvaneth and Stormcast Eternals force before the Celestant Prime purged the corruption from him with Gal Maraz and gave him a chance at redemption. So it's very clear that they have no issues actually describing characters as male or female. So they are clearly choosing this on purpose to push that agenda. And it's no surprise they've been doing this for a while. If we kind of just jump over here, wrote this article back in May. Obviously, this is an older story, but it had just come to my attention in May, where it was confirmed that Warhammer 40K novelist James Swallow was putting this stuff in his Iron and Bone story. Actually included a character that had underwent a quote unquote gender transition. And people are like, oh, well, it just makes sense if it's in canon. No, the only reason why they're adding this stuff in canon is to literally push the propaganda here in the real world. There is no purpose to add that stuff in canon because it does not actually reflect our world. This is an impossibility. And the only reason why they're doing that is to push the transgender propaganda, make it normal, and hopefully get you to buy into it and get people to accept it, get people to accept evil without resisting. And that's not what we're about here. We are not about accepting evil. We are about saying no to evil. We're about rejecting evil. We're not trying to become allies or even sit on the sidelines as evil runs rampant. We are actively engaged in the battle, in the war, and we will fight against it. But all of this comes in the wake of kind of the Adeptus Custodes scandal, where they introduced a female Adeptus Custodes and then confirmed that there had always been Adeptus Custodes despite the plethora of evidence, which I'm not going to go over here, but I have it all in this article. Obviously, Grum shared the rogue trader rules. He shared the sections from the codexes from 2017 and 2018, making it clear that there was an all-male faction. But nevertheless, Warhammer posted this. Since the first of the 10,000 were created, there have always been female custodians. Complete and utter lie, complete gaslight, trying to get people to believe this when the evidence clearly shows that was not the case, to get people to buy into a lie, to oppose the actual truth. And it's just quite disgusting what Warhammer has become. Fortunately, there are alternatives now popping up. As I mentioned, my good friend John Del Rose is creating them. And there's other things that you can do rather than read Warhammer, play Warhammer, or play the Warhammer video games. There are alternatives now that are popping up because Warhammer has gone woke. Games Workshop has gone woke. And they're just basically just shooting themselves in the foot for this ideology. And it's truly sad. It's truly sad because I actually like the Warhammer universe. I've read a bunch of the Horus Heresy novels. I found them highly entertaining. Dan Abnett does a great job with a number of those. And then I also really liked the RTS games that were back in like the early 2000s. Those were a lot of fun. Really enjoyed those. And I actually played some of the Total War games as well and had fun with those. But I don't really engage with Warhammer anymore other than to cover its kind of downfall and demise right now, because that's what we're seeing. Hopefully they can change. We know that companies can change. We've seen Robbie Starbuck actually doing a really good job with this over on X. He's got Ford, he's got Harley Davidson, he's got Tractor Supply. Obviously, these are more American companies than British companies, but they are removing and excising the woke ideology from their companies. They're removing their DEI departments. They are not funding the Human Rights Council anymore. They're stopping funding the gay agenda and gay prides and all of this other stuff that they were doing. So it is very possible to change, and we will be covering that. And I think that hopefully Warhammer can change. They can stop doing this, but at this point they aren't. And so we're going to keep covering them. We're going to keep being critical of them because at the end of the day, they are pushing evil. This stuff is evil. This transgender ideology is evil, and we cannot sit by and let them do it. We have to call this stuff out. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.